Hi, welcome to Start to Finish Sunday. Today I am going to make a clean and simple quick thank you note using this perfectly preserved set from the 2012 Stampin' Up! Holiday Catalog. So we're going to start by assembling the card base, and a quick tip that I want to share with you is a way that you can kind of step up a clean and simple card design and just make it that much more special. So I'm starting with a portrait style card base that I scored and folded out of gumball green cardstock. And then I have a Whisper white layer that's going to go right on like this, and this measures 4 by 5 1/4. And I have another gumball green layer that measures 3 1/4 by 5, and that's going to go right on the card like that. Now this would be a beautiful card base for a clean and simple card, but we're going to add just a little bit more interest today by using this Lacy Brocade Textured Impressions embossing folder. This is the embossing folder that I shared in my coordinations Christmas card video during Christmas in July last week. So I am going to take this layer here, this gumball green layer, and line it up in my folder, and I'm just going to go ahead and run this through my die cutting machine. And now I hope you can see this absolutely gorgeous texture that we have. And so now when we layer our card base, that gives us just a little bit of added interest and added dimension. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere these pieces together, and I'll be right back. Okay, my card base is all finished, and I'm just going to go ahead and set this aside and work on our focal image. I have a piece of Whisper white cardstock that measures 2.5 inches wide by 4.5 inches tall, and I already went ahead and used my corner rounder punch to round all 4 corners on this piece. I'm going to start by stamping the jar image, excuse me, from this stamp set. And I'm just inking this up with black ink, and I'll go ahead and stamp this at the bottom of my Whisper white piece, just like that. For this card, I'm using both of the flower images that come in this set, and I'll be using Summer Starfruit, Primrose Petals, and Wisteria Wonder ink. The thing that I found when I was making my sample of this card was that lining up the flowers and the stems is actually easier for me to do if I stamp the flowers first. So that's what I'm going to do. Let's see, I'm going to start with, I'll start with the Primrose Petals, and this is the new Firm Foam ink pad, so I'm just inking that very lightly. And I'll just go ahead and stamp again lightly. I don't have to press down too hard. And I'm going to be using this flower stamp again, so I'm going to go ahead and clean it off. And next I'm going to use the smaller flower. This is kind of like a little daisy style flower, and I'm going to stamp that in the Summer Starfruit. Again, I'm just inking that very lightly. I'm going to stamp that right about there. And then we'll take the first flower image again, and I'm going to ink that with Wisteria Wonder and stamp it up at the top. Now it's time to stamp the stems of the flowers, and I have my gumball green ink here open for that. I am really bad at lining things up, so I'm using my Stamp-A-Majig for this. And I'm actually going to stamp this twice on my imaging sheet, and I'll show you why in a minute. So I'll just ink that up lightly with gumball green, put it right into the corner of the Stamp-A-Majig tool, stamp straight down, straight up. Okay? So this stem, what I really like about it is it doesn't have a top or a bottom, so you can have it going this way, or you can have it going this way. And that adds some interest to your card and makes it look like the flowers aren't all exactly the same. So I'm going to turn my imaging sheet, and I'm going to use my Stamp-A-Majig with the stamp facing the other direction so that I have it all ready to go no matter which way I want to stamp my stem. Now, as you can see here, this flower here, the stem of it if I were to just stamp it, is going to go straight through this little yellow flower. So we're going to do a little bit of masking. And I already stamped this little yellow flower on just a piece of the sticky part of a Post-it note, and that's going to be my mask. And I just cut around it carefully. So I will go ahead and line this up with my stamped image and just press that into place, just like that. And I don't want all the stems to be the same length, and like this yellow one here, if I just stamped it, that's going to go through the bottom of the jar, and I don't want that. So I'm also taking just the rest of the piece of Post-it note that I cut that out of, and I will adhere that on the bottom where I want my first stamp to end. So that's going to cut off the bottom of the stem as I stamp it. So I'm going to have this purple flower stem going this way. So I'll just place that where I want it, line up my Stamp-A-Majig tool, and remove the imaging sheet. Lightly ink up my stamp, right in the corner, just like before, straight down, straight up. And we have that stem perfectly where we want it. And now we can go ahead and remove the mask. I like to use the tip of my scissors to help me get underneath there. And you did the work to stamp this and cut it out, so save it. Don't throw this away. And you can see now it looks like that stem is behind our yellow flower. I'm going to go ahead and stamp the stem this way for the pink flower, and I'm going to move, I think I'm actually going to remove my mask at the bottom, because when you have real flowers in a vase, you have the stems are all different lengths, right? So I'll just go ahead and replace that Stamp-A-Majig. Make sure I have my stamp going the right way here. Ink that up and stamp it down. Perfect. And just one last stem, and then the great thing about the imaging sheet with the Stamp-A-Majig is you can kind of play with it and see where you think you might want it to go. And I think it looks pretty good like that. So I'm going to come back in with my mask, and we'll make this stem be kind of a medium length. And I'll come in, place my stem where I want it, replace my tool, and then I can go ahead and stamp my stem. Just like that. I have here the brand new Stampin' Up. This is the piercing mat from the new catalog. And I'll grab my paper piercing tool, and I'm just going to come in here and right on this line of the mouth of the jar, I'm going to pierce one hole on this side, and then another hole kind of on the same, on the same horizontal line, pierce another hole over here. So now you probably can't really see that, but I have two holes pierced in the mouth area of the jar. Okay, I put my piercing mat away, and I've zoomed in just a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. I have some linen thread that I've threaded onto a needle, and I'm just going to go ahead and put this through one of the holes that I punched, and I'll come back up through the other hole. Perfect, just like that. Now I can take this off my needle and make the ends kind of even, and I'm just going to tie this in a bow. Okay, so there is my little bow, and I'll just go ahead and clip off the ends. And so now it looks like we took some nice twine and wrapped it around the mouth of our jar. Bring my card base back in, and I'm just going to put some dimensionals on the back of this piece. And this is going to go on our card centered vertically, but a little bit to the right hand side of the card. Okay. Perfect. Now we only have one thing left to do, and if you remember in the beginning of the video I said this card was one that I'm making for a thank you note, so we have to put a thank you sentiment on here. So I have a little scrap of Whisper White cardstock, and I'm using this cute thank you image that comes in the set. I'm going to stamp this using my Primrose Petals marker. Okay. And now I'm just going to take my scissors and cut around this oval, leaving a very small white border. Now I'll take my little thank you sentiment and I'm just going to put some snail on the back of that. And I love that this is the perfect size and shape to be like a little label on the jar. So I'll just center that right on the jar like that. And there is our finished card. So thanks for joining me today. I hope to see you next week for another Start to Finish Sunday video. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. Have a great week, and I'll catch you next time. Happy stampin'. Bye-bye.